Hello, John Coverdale here with a video for CIS 1A. Now in this video I'm going to walk you through a CIS 1A project. It's going to be Word 2021 in Practice, that's our text, Chapter 1, Independent Project 1-6. I'm going to go through the project as if we were in the classroom together, and I'm going to do all the steps and you can follow along with me. You can pause the video as you need to. At the end of it, I'll submit my work and get it graded just like I would in class. If I've made any mistakes, I'll fix those mistakes and show you how to resubmit your work for maximum points. So before we get started, there's a couple of things I want to tell you. The first time you do a project in SIMnet, you're going to be given a prompt to look at the best practices. You can go and find the best practices anytime you want to by clicking on this right here where it says best practices. I'll do that right now, and you can pause if you want to read any of this, but it has a lot of tips and suggestions and requirements to ensure that you get the best possible score and don't have any pitfalls that you might encounter. One of them is that you want to be sure that if you're going to use a Macintosh, and what I'll do now is I'll go back to the instructions here, and you can see that there's a setting for Macintosh. If you are using a Macintosh, it should detect that. Just make sure that the switch is flipped over to Macintosh. You'll download a different file and have slightly different instructions possibly to complete the project. If you want to use your Macintosh, make sure that you start your project on the Mac and that you finish it on the Mac. We can't, unfortunately, switch between Windows and Macintosh on the same project. I'm using Windows, and so I'll be downloading the Windows file. The other thing I want to show you is that you can also take a preview of the solution, and I'll click on that right now, and it's going to ask you to download that. I'll go ahead and download it to my computer, and I'll be able to open that actually in the browser here and show you what this is going to look like when it's completed. For this project here, we're going to be working for the pretend company Placer Hills Real Estate for the imaginary person Emma Cavalli. And we're going to be creating something that's similar to a resume. Emma Cavalli is a real estate agent, a realtor consultant. Realtors are, it's actually a trademark term, and not every real estate agent is a realtor, but apparently Ms. Cavalli is. Now they've done most of the typing for us, thank goodness. So we're going to be focusing on formatting this document and taking an existing document and making it look like this. So I'll go back to our instructions here and download my start file. Start file here is this little link. I'll go ahead and highlight it for you. I'll download that, and it's going to take a moment to download it. And I'll save it. Yours will have your name on it, mine has my name on it, and once I've downloaded it, I can go ahead and open it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at it in my downloads folder here, because I want to be sure that I can find it when it's time to submit this file. And so I've created a documents folder just for these videos here. I'll go ahead and double click on it to open that file. It's going to open in Microsoft Word, and when it does, I'll bring that over to our screen so you guys can see it. And the first thing that we'll have to deal with is it says protected view, be careful. Files from the internet can contain viruses. We're going to go ahead and enable editing. Since we know where this came from, we know that it's a trustworthy file. It's not going to have a virus, but Windows detects when you have downloaded a file and gives you that extra step to make sure that you truly do want to open the file, that you do know what it is and where it came from. Okay, so here we have the typing that's been completed. We're going to need to work back and forth between the instructions and the document itself. Now, for me, I have two screens and I can move things back and forth, and maybe you do as well. If you don't, here's a trick that you can use. If you hold down the Windows key and use one of the arrow keys, that will snap that top window to half of your screen, and then you can choose what else you want to have on the other half of the screen. So I can work side by side if I want to. Now, what I will be doing is I'll be maximizing these two windows and switching between them so that you have the best possible view of what I'm doing. But it may be helpful for you to work side by side like this. I'll go ahead and make this side by side, or make this full screen and make this full screen. And I'll be switching back and forth between these by using the Alt key and the Tab key. Alt, Tab switches to the previous application. Alt, Tab switches back again. That's the Alt key, ALT. It's right next to the space bar, and the Tab key on the left side of the keyboard. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the instructions. It tells me the skills that we're going to be learning here. Feel free to take a moment and read that because it may let you know that this is going to be an easy project for you. But I'm going to go ahead and go down to the steps to complete the assignment, starting with step 1. Open the document. I've already done that, so I'll check it off. Now, checking off these little steps here is not required. It will just help you keep track of where you're at, but I'll do that so you can follow along with me here. The file is going to be named with your name in it. You can go ahead and leave that alone. No need to change that. I'll check off the second step. And so we're really going to begin here with step 3, which has a few parts, starting with select the entire document and apply the following format changes. Change the font and size to Cambria 10 points. Change after paragraph spacing to 6 points. Change line spacing to single, and that's going to be for the entire document. Okay, let's do that here. I'll switch to the document here, and the first thing I'll do is I'll select everything. Now, I like to use keyboard shortcuts when I can because I'm lazy and it saves me steps, and so the keyboard shortcut to select the entire document, all pages from beginning to end, is Control-A. That'll select everything like you see here. On the other hand, if you forget that and you're trying to remember how do I select everything, there is a feature right here. I'll highlight it for you. The menu on the Home tab of the ribbon, has a Select tool, and you can choose to select all. I'll do that now, and it's the same thing as hitting Control-A. I believe that it told me to change the font to Cambria and make everything 10 points. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. The fonts are in the font zone of the Home ribbon. The Home tab is where we're going to find the most commonly used commands. We'll spend most of our time clicking on the Home tab. Now, if you look here at the top of my screen, it says we've got Calibri and Calibri Light as our theme fonts. And so we'll get to theme fonts later on in the semester, but sometimes you might find Cambria is up here. I'm going to go down, though, to the C's. I have a lot of fonts, and yours are going to look different than mine, and look for CAMBRIA. You could also start typing, if you wanted to, CAM, and it'll find the font that you're looking for, and you can hit the Enter key. And that's going to change our font to Cambria. So let me do that and also change the font size to 10. And then go back to my instructions here and check off this step right there. Okay, let's take a look at the next thing that we need to be doing, which is changing the after spacing to 6 points and the line spacing to single. Now, before we do that, I want to talk to you about what it is that we're going to do and why we're going to do it. So I'm going to bring over here temporarily another document that has some just basic placeholder text. This happens to be by Charles Dickens from his book, A Tale of Two Cities. Now, let me talk to you about what we just did. We changed the fonts to Calibri and the size to 10 points. And if you look up here in this area here, we've got all these different fonts. The two basic kinds of fonts that you use the most fall into two categories. One is called sans serif, meaning without serifs, and the other one is called serifed, meaning it has serifs, or it's a serif font. This is sans serif. It has no serifs. Let me change it to a familiar font that you may be familiar with, Times New Roman. Now, this font is based upon, or it is the font that is used to publish the New York Times newspaper. So it's a font that is very familiar to people. It's built into Windows and the Macintosh, and it packs a lot of text into a smaller amount of space. If you type a document in Times Roman, you can fit more words on the page than if you type it in another type of font. But what we're talking about here are the serifs, and those are the little icicle things, or the little things that look like the bottom of a tree trunk that you see at the baseline of each word. I'll go ahead and change this next paragraph into Times Roman as well. So this is an example of these words, the male, in Times Roman. Let me go ahead and set it back to Calibri, which is a font that has no serifs. It's a sans serif font. So what you can see is that sans serif fonts like Calibri, like Arial, to choose another common one, these have a more modern look to them. They also are more commonly used for web pages and things that we're going to be reading online, because dealing with these little serifs visually, especially in small text, can be kind of hard to read, I guess, on the screen. That's what research seems to suggest. On a printed page, a newspaper, magazine, or book, these little serifs actually help us to read faster and with greater comprehension. So a good kind of general rule is that if you're printing something out, you may want to think about using serifed fonts. Times Roman has been around for a very long time. Garamond is a font that's a serif font that has a kind of an old-fashioned look to it. If you see a font that has the name schoolbook in it, like, for example, Century Schoolbook, let me find that one for you. Century Schoolbook, there we go. A schoolbook font was used to teach kids how to read back in the day, and so it's going to have bigger letters and more rounded and easier to see them a little bit compared to something like Times New Roman. You can kind of see the two of them side by side there. So changing fonts gives a different look to our document, and the main two categories are serifed fonts, like these here, and sans serif, like what we started off with, which was Calibri or Calibri Light. That's the basic font for most brand new documents in Microsoft Word. So that's what font changes can do. What is the next thing that we're going to be looking at here? We're going to be looking at the instructions here. Change the after paragraph spacing to 6 points and the line spacing to single. Okay, after spacing, let me make this not be so big there. After spacing is the space that you see between paragraphs. And it's actually right where you can see my arrow is at. It's the space between paragraphs. Now you might think that somebody had put an extra blank line in between these paragraphs, but no, this blank space is being put in automatically. And if I select the entire document and go into my paragraph settings here, and to do that, I'm going to go to this little launch tool right here, the launcher. To open up this window, my paragraph dialog box, I can see that I've got 8 points of space after each paragraph. We are going to change that to 6 on our document here in just a minute. That gives us, really, it's about half a line of text, of blankness in between each paragraph. Text font measurements are measured in points. There are 72 points in 1 inch, and so 6 points is about 1/10 of an inch of blank space between paragraphs. Now, sometimes when people are typing, they want to put an extra space. They hit the Enter key after each paragraph. You can do that, but it's really better to use the tools that you have and learn how to use them to control all the space in your document very precisely. So let's go ahead and get rid of this example document here and change after spacing to 6. And then we're going to change line spacing to single, and we'll see what happens when we do that. So here we go. Go back to the paragraph launcher, click on it, change line spacing to 6, hit enter or hit OK. That tightens things up quite a bit. And then we're going to change line spacing to single. What is line spacing set to right now? Well, we've got a couple places to control line spacing. One is here in this drop-down menu, and we could choose 1.0 to change everything to single. Now, again, before you do this, make sure that you do have everything selected. Use the select all before you change your paragraph settings to 6 points after. Now I'm going to open the paragraph dialog box again and change line spacing here to single. We can do it in this dialog box while we're changing our font, our paragraph spacing in this same area. When I click on OK, it's going to tighten things up quite a bit, and that will complete, I believe, for us step 3, step B, and C, and we're ready to apply some formatting to the opening lines of the document. What I'm going to do before we do anything else is I'm going to go back to my document and I'm going to turn on this button right here. It looks kind of like a backwards P. It is the paragraph symbol for proofreaders, for marking up documents. I'm going to click on that. Now, I don't have to have anything selected to do that. This little button here, it's turned on now. Notice it's shaded. It's turned off. It's white. But when it's activated, you'll see at the end of each line that little paragraph symbol. That tells me that that's the end of the paragraph, and that is created whenever I hit the Enter key on the keyboard. If we zoom in on this, you can also see that there's a dot in between each word. So it's showing me one dot for every blank space in the document. These will never print on paper. They're only displayed on your monitor, and it's a feature that you can turn on and off to be able to kind of see where the white space is built into your document. So if things are not going into the right place, turning on the Show Hide button right here can help you troubleshoot all of that. Let's go to our instructions, and we will select the first 5 lines of the document, Emma Cavalli to her email address, and change the after paragraph spacing to 2 points. That is going to tighten things up quite a bit. Now, to select text, you can get in there with the mouse and kind of be like a surgeon, and with a scalpel you can drag that mouse down just like that. Make sure that you get each and every thing that you need to. Now, actually, because we are actually doing paragraph spacing, which is anything in this zone right here, I'll highlight it for you. The paragraph zone, we don't really need to be as careful as if we were doing boldface or some font changes. We could actually be kind of sloppy and select just like that. As long as we get something from each paragraph, changing any paragraph setting is going to apply to the entire paragraph. You could also, this is a trick I like to use, put my mouse out to the edge, get an arrow that points to the northeast. Notice that if I just go up to the top of the screen, my arrow points to the northwest, to the left. If I go to the edge of a Word document here on the margin, it points like this, and if I click, it selects one whole line at a time. I can click and drag downward and let go and select multiple lines. I'm going to go back to my paragraph launcher, and I'm going to change spacing after from 6 points to 2. I don't need to type PT there. It knows that I'm measuring this in points. I'll hit the OK key or the Enter key on the keyboard, and it says select the first 6 lines of the document and center these lines. So we're going to go all the way down to the URL, her website, and we're going to select like this, and the alignment centering button is right under my mouse right there. And you'll see in this zone we've got a number of similar looking buttons. One is for left alignment, one is for right alignment, goes way over to the right hand edge, and for centering we click this one right there. Now there's another one for justified. We'll get into using that in the future, but so now we've got kind of like a letterhead. We've got Emma's name, title, slogan, phone number here at the top. I'll turn off Show Hide so we can kind of get an idea of how that's going to look when it's printed. We'll check off this step here and select the very first line of the document, her name, and apply the following changes. This is going to be font formatting, 12 points in size, bold, and the 10th color in the last row called green accent 6 darker, 50%. Okay, so let me go ahead and get the first line. I'll go ahead and I'll do another trick. I'll triple click. That will get the whole paragraph there. You could also, here's another trick, control click and you'll get a sentence. Anyway, select everything. I like to also make sure that I'm selecting the paragraph symbol at the end when I do this step here, just to be sure. Size 12, bold, and green accent 6, darker 50%. Bold, green accent, darker 60%, was it? I've already forgotten. I have to go back and look. 12 points bold, 10th color last row, 50%. Okay. Make it larger by 2 sizes by clicking up here. And green accent darker 50%. So it's going to be the darkest of these green colors right there. Okay. So check off all these boxes here. It says select the second line of the document, her title, Realtor Consulting, and make that bold. So we'll go ahead and select that. And we can click the B button for bold. I highlight that. You can also use a keyboard shortcut, Control key B. I'll try that right now. Makes it bold. We're going to check that step off. Take the third line, putting your needs first, and make that italic. And that slants it. So I'll click on the I button for that. Control I would do the same thing as a keyboard shortcut. And apply formatting to a section header and use the format painter. Okay, I like using the format painter. It saves me a lot of steps. So let's see how this is going to work. Select the first heading, personal statement, and apply bold, underline, and small caps. So let's find personal statement. Select that whole line there, and we're going to apply bold, underline, and small caps. Okay, now small caps is not going to be available with any of these buttons. Bold, we can click a button. Underline, we can click a button. But to get to the small caps, we have to launch the font dialog box by clicking right here. So I'll open my font tools, and there are a couple of different things here. There's actually quite a few, but the two that we want to look at here are small caps and all caps. Small caps is what we want, and it gives us a preview. It shows us that a capital letter is a capital letter, but a lowercase letter, like little a, little b, little c, is a small version of a capital letter. It has a more formal kind of style to it, and it works well with underlining because you're never going to have like a Y or a G that clips through the underline and doesn't look good. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that the small caps button is checked. Now there is all caps. Let me talk to you about that as well, as long as we're looking at this here. We have this button here. We're not going to use this. Don't use this. But if I wanted to capitalize all of this text here, I could do that by using this drop-down menu for big A, little a. If I change it to uppercase, it capitalizes everything. We're not doing that, but I want to tell you that this actually retypes all of that stuff. I'm going to undo that. You can use the undo button right there. If you use the font tool that formats all caps, you can choose that, look at it, change your mind, and say, I don't like it, go and uncheck that, and it turns it off. So it's non-destructive in changing the capitalization. So these are ways that you can change capitalization of your document without, of headings and so forth, without making it necessarily difficult to put back. Okay, clicking small caps, clicking OK. So just double check there that you've got small caps. Look at mine to see what that's going to look like. So that is the first heading, personal statement, bold, underline, small caps. We're also going to do before paragraph spacing of 12, after paragraph spacing of 3. So keeping this selected, at least part of it selected, let's open up our paragraph tools. And after spacing is going to be 3, before spacing is going to be 12. I'll hit OK. And so you can see by the amount of gray that it has added extra space above and a little bit of space below. So that's how we want this to be. We're going to use the Format Painter to copy this formatting to the other section headings, starting with Real Estate Experience. So what is that? What is the Format Painter? Well, we just went through about 4 or 5 different steps to get this to look the way we want. Rather than having to go down to each one of these headings and repeat all of that work, we're going to select the entire paragraph here. So you can put your mouse out to the edge, get that northeast pointing arrow, click, select including the paragraph mark. So for this procedure, I would personally turn on Show Hide and make sure I'm including my paragraph mark, because that's where the paragraph settings, like spacing before and after, they live with that paragraph mark right there. Now, here's a button that's called Format Painter. I'm going to go ahead and click it once. And now if I find Real Estate Experience and I highlight that with my mouse, notice there's a paintbrush stuck to my mouse. And that is going to take the formatting, the appearance of everything that I previously did, and it's going to copy that formatting onto this here. Let me do it again for you. So select the whole thing, the thing that we like, the thing that looks good, select it. Now you can let go of the mouse for a second. Then come back, and this time I'll double click on the Format Painter. Now normally, if I click the Format Painter one time and I use it, it turns off the Format Painter automatically. And that's good because I don't want to go clicking anything else and start formatting things randomly. But if I know that I want to format a bunch of different stuff, the same, I can highlight that, double click on the Format Painter, 2 clicks really fast, and now I can paint my formatting. And notice that the Format Painter is still activated. It's still highlighted. So I'll find the next one, what clients are saying, and I can paint again. I'm going to use why I am a real estate agent. I skipped that one. No, I got it. There it is. What clients are saying, and 2 more, professional credentials, education, and training. Let me find those professional credentials. Paint that, and finally education and training, paint that. And if we do this correctly, once we're done, let's hit the escape key or else click the Format Painter again to turn it off. I'll use the escape key on the keyboard, upper left corner. Now we've copied that, painted that formatting onto all those different things. Let me go ahead and check off all of that. And so now it does tell you to turn on the Show Hide button. So make sure that if you haven't turned it on yet, you want it on for the next step. It says, combine the 4 sentences in the section Why I Am a Real Estate Agent into one paragraph, delete paragraph marks, and insert spaces as needed. So here we have Why I Am a Real Estate Agent. And to get rid of the paragraph marks here, I don't know, you could either work with backspace or the delete key. I'll click at the beginning of communication to go use the backspace key to back over that paragraph mark, get rid of it. I'll do the same thing. I'll click right before the I, backspace, get rid of the paragraph mark, hit the space key one time. Make sure you've got those spaces after the period there, okay? One more, backspace, hit the space key to insert a space between sentences. And we have now condensed 4 sentences, or 4 paragraphs of 1 sentence each, kind of a list, into a paragraph. Next it says, apply the following changes in the What Clients Are Saying section. Select the second paragraph, it was a pleasure, apply italic, and change after spacing to 0. It was a pleasure. So she's got a quote from Rod and Louisa Ellisor of Rockland, California. We want to get everything in this paragraph here. You can use the mouse by click and drag and release. You can also put your mouse anywhere in that paragraph and triple click. That'll get an entire paragraph. That's 3 fast clicks. There aren't too many instances where we do triple click, but this is one of them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to apply italic and change after spacing to 0. Hit the I button to format that quote, and then go to paragraph and change spacing of after 6 to after 0. And that is going to move the name of the people being quoted right up against that quotation mark. Select the source of the quote, Rod and Louisa Ellisor, and right align that text. So click anywhere in that paragraph. It's its own paragraph there. I'll click on Rod, his name right there, and I'm going to click this button, the right alignment button right there. And that is going to move their name all the way over to the right margin. Now, I happen to have something turned on here. I'll show you how you can do this. If you go to the View tab and you check off the box that says Ruler, what you're going to get when you do it is a ruler at the top of the page and also on the side. But at the top of the page, you can see a little kind of, it looks like the roof of a house here. That is your margin, the right margin. That's as far over as anything can go on this page. So we can see that this text is pushed all the way over there. Probably I'm going to bet we're going to do the same thing right there. So let's see what the instructions say. Repeat the 2 above steps for the second quote and the citation of the source, John and Robin Anderson. Okay, well, we can do it just by repeating all that, or we can triple click that paragraph that we just completed that's italic. On the Home tab, I'll hit Format Painter, and I'll go ahead and paint that entire paragraph from beginning to end. And then I want to have the names of these people here. Make sure my Format Painter is turned off. I'll go ahead and click on their name, and I can just hit the right alignment button. That's probably the easiest way to do that because it's a single step. And so now those 2 quotations have parallel formatting. They look similar to each other. Okay, keep on going. We're going to move the 3rd section heading and the paragraph below it, why I am a real estate agent, so it appears before real estate experience. Okay, can I remember this? Why I am a real estate agent, so it goes before real estate experience. Now I'm seeing here that I have made a mistake. I did not format real estate experience properly, so I'm going to fix that right now. All I need to do is use my Format Painter, highlight the one that I started with that looks good, click Format Painter, and now highlight that. So I've corrected a mistake. What I want to do is take everything here, and I'm going to highlight it temporarily, all yellow, why I am a real estate agent, and the paragraph below it, and we want to move that to be above real estate experience. Now, if you know how to copy and paste or cut and paste in this situation, my dog wants my attention here. If you know how to cut and paste, that's an easy way of doing this. I'll show you that right now. I'll highlight everything I want to move, and using either Control X for scissors or the little button here, cut, I can remove that. And before I do anything else, my computer is remembering that I have cut that from that place, and I can click right before the words real estate experience. That's where I want to drop this, and I can hit the paste button and it moves it right there. Paste button is the little clipboard right there. Let me undo that. Can I undo that? Yes, I'll undo both of those things. Another way of doing this, if you like to use the mouse, highlight everything, make sure you get the paragraph marks as well as the words. Put your mouse anywhere over that selection, click, and now drag the mouse, move the mouse, holding down that mouse button, and you can see that there's a piece of paper or something stuck to my mouse arrow. And when I get it near the target location where I'm going to drop it, there's a line that shows me where it's going to land. When that line is in the right place, I let go of the mouse and it moves it. Now that's the easiest way for me to do it most of the time, but if I'm using a laptop, I have one of those track pads. They're always a pain to use, so I would use the technique of cutting it and pasting it. As long as you move it there, It doesn't matter how you do it. Select the 3 lines in the professional credentials section, but don't include the heading, and change after spacing the 3 points. Let's find professional credentials. Okay, that's down here. We're talking about all of this stuff here. Because we're doing paragraph formatting, I can kind of be a little bit sloppy with my selection there. I don't need to get each and every word as long as I get part of every paragraph. Since this is kind of a list, we're going to tighten it up. And again, it says 3 points of spacing. So let's launch our paragraph tools and change 6 points to 3 points. And hit OK. Now 3 points, if there's 71 points in an inch, that's like, 1/20th or less of an inch. But you'll notice that there is a noticeable change there. It does tighten it up a little bit. And we're going to then take that, that formatting that we just did using the Format Painter. We're going to go ahead and make these things here match. And so I don't need to select all of this stuff, although it doesn't hurt if I want to do it that way. As long as I get one of these paragraphs here, it's going to be fine. Or you can select any multiple of them. Hit the Format Painter, and then go ahead and paint format onto the list under Education and Training. Don't change Education and Training. That's good the way it is. Just tighten up the list of places where she was educated underneath. Okay, so now we're going to go to step 11, and it says use the editor to correct the grammar and spelling issues in the document. In older versions of Office, there was a spell check button on the Review tab. Now they have a thing called the Editor pane that combines a bunch of different tools designed to help you check and improve your document. So they have this whole thing, kind of a toolkit called Editor. So if you were to if you're a veteran of older versions of Word, this is something that they've moved around a little bit. Correct errors were necessary, but to ensure accurate grading, do not change the resume suggestion for the word working. Okay, let's watch out for that. Ignore proper nouns, potential errors in section headings. Close the editor when finished. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go to the editor. I like to start at the top of the document, so I'll click at the top. And the editor is going to be where? On the Review tab, is it? Let me find it. I thought it, there it is. The very first button on the Review tab used to be the spelling check. Now it's the editor. So it's going to read the whole document, and the editor is going to do suggestions beyond just spell checking and grammar checking. It can give you suggestions on conciseness, formality, repetitive types of phraseology, and so forth. Let's take a look at spelling. It says, I am dedicated to listening. They've misspelled listening. And so it said, consider this. Let's go ahead and hit the option for listening that is correctly spelled. Moving down, it finds here, and if you're accustomed to Microsoft Word, you know these red squiggly lines tell us where there's a problem. It says, I'm extremely conscientious, but we've misspelled extremely. So we're going to go ahead where it says consider this. We're going to click on that choice there. And then what else do we have? Another one, commitment. Let's click on spelling again. We're going to fix that spelling error by clicking on this suggestion here, commitment. Now for grammar, let's click on that, and it says it's found a verb mismatch here. We want to go with a singular form of the verb here, so let's click on enjoy. I have has the pleasure. I think that Emma Cavalli wants to say I have had the pleasure of working. And so we're going to click on that right there. And that is good, I think. We have suggestions for clarity. Emma can be counted on to do saying who or what did the action would be clearer. Emma can be counted on. No suggestions. I think maybe we can skip that. Emma can be counted on. It doesn't have suggestions, so I'm going to go ahead and use this little button here to go to the next thing here. I am dedicated to listening to your needs as a buyer or seller. No suggestions. Saying who or what did the action. Now, because she's writing this in the first person, I is fine. It's about Emma. The overall document makes that clear. So I'll go ahead and skip that. I'll skip that. It's just finding those two little problems there. I'll click the X to get out of there. It says more precise verbs. I enjoy working with people. They suggest collaborating. They don't want us to change that. So to ensure accurate grading, ignore the resume suggestion for the word working. Click ignore once for each of these suggestions. When you click ignore once, what that does is it makes a notation in the internal structure of the document to not nag you about that in the future, to not suggest that again. If you open another document that has the same possible suggestion, it'll suggest it then. But the good thing about ignore once is that if you then send the document to another computer, it's not going to come up with these issues. And so I'm going to ignore once for that. I'm going to ignore once again so that we don't have anything coming up here in the editor. For clarity, I don't know. I'm going to ignore those as well, I guess, just so that I can get to the point where I don't have anything that's listed there. So that is the editor. It kind of puts a lot of tools in one place. Ignore proper nouns. Close the editor when finished. So we've done all of that. Use the Thesaurus to find an appropriate synonym for the following words. Replace surpass and replace emotions. So let's do the first one first. Replace surpass in the personal statement section with exceed. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and take out this yellow highlighting that we never really needed to have here. Surpass, if I put my mouse on this and I right click and I go down here, Thesaurus offers alternative words. Alternative words that mean the same thing are called synonyms. So I'm going to right click on synonyms, and to get the most possible choices, I'll click on Thesaurus here. And the one that they want us to use is exceed. And so there it is right there. I'll click on the word exceed, and that will I'll click it. Insert, there we go. Right click it and choose insert, and that will put it into your document. The next one that we're going to do is replace emotions with sentiments. Why I am a real estate agent. We're looking for the word emotions. Here it is. So if we use the thesaurus for that, synonyms, thesaurus, sentiments is the second option. Right click and insert. I guess I could also drop down that little tab right there and insert it. So make sure that you've got sentiments here, and make sure that you've got exceed right there, exceed. I'll highlight it for you. Exceed and sentiments. There you go. Where's the highlighter? Right there. Okay. Use search to research selected words. Okay, the search tool is one that I don't really use very much, to be honest with you, in real life. If I'm going to search for something, I'll probably just go to my favorite search engine, whether it's Bing or Google, whatever it is, and search for that thing. But if we look for University of Nevada, Reno, in the education section down here at the bottom, we can highlight that. And I'll go ahead and close the thesaurus here. I'll highlight this here, University of Nevada, Reno, right-click and choose Search. There's a little magnifying glass right there. It opens up a side panel. It uses Bing by Microsoft to search the internet. And so if I just wanted some quick information about something, I can get it right in the side of my document here without having to open a web browser. Like I said, I don't really use it that much, and it's not even something that gets graded by the grading system because it doesn't actually change your document. Use the Read Aloud feature. That's going to be on the Review tab to read the first body paragraph. So I can go up here and select a couple of paragraphs. And on the Review tab, if I want to kick back and listen to the computer read my document, or if this is going to be something that a person who can't see the document very well wants to use, they can highlight it here and then go to the Review tab. And here's a button here that has the letter A on it with some kind of like sound waves coming from it. Read aloud. So I'll go ahead and click on that.
I am dedicated to listening to your needs as a buyer or seller and providing you with prompt and excellent service to exceed your expectations. Why I am a real estate agent.
All right, I'll click that and turn it off. Now, in my case, I had increased the speed of Read Aloud at some point to go through a document really quickly. And so probably yours won't sound quite like that, but that's okay. Trying the feature out is all you got to do. It doesn't actually change the document, so it won't be graded. Wow, we're almost done here. Add the following document properties. Title, brochure. I'll go ahead and highlight that word and right-click and choose copy. Title, brochure, what is that? Well, if I go to the File tab, it actually hides my document. And there's going to be a thing here called Info that you want to click. And then over in this area here, I'll go ahead and click where it says Show All Properties in case we need to find anything that's not listed here. There are some built-in statistics about our document, how many words we have in the document, how many pages we have in the document, but we also have some things like title, and the title they want us to use is brochure. So click where it says add a title and either paste brochure there or type it. A company is going to be Placer Hills Real Estate. So let me find company, and again you may need to click on show all properties right here to see that. Specify the company, Placer Hills Real Estate goes there. Author, I believe it's going to be Emma Cavalli, so I'll go ahead and type Emma Cavalli, C-A-V-A-L-L-I, enter. And it will search in your address book if you're using Outlook to try to find that person's information, but it couldn't find her, so that's fine. She's not really a real person. And that's basically it for this document here. Let me use this circle arrow button in the upper left corner to go back to my document here. If you need to save the document before you submit it for grading, go ahead and save it right now. I went ahead and saved mine. And what I'll do now is I will go to the instructions page, and it says save and close the document, submit your work for grading. I'll go to the top of the page here and click where it says upload my file. And upload the file, I'm going to be going to the folder where I saved this. Now I can look at the time. I happen to know what time it is, so I can tell that I just saved that a minute ago. I'll hit open, and it goes up to the cloud, and I'll click on yes, submit the file. Takes a minute, and then it gives me a report. Let's see how I did. 100%. So I actually didn't make any mistakes. If you have anything incorrect here, it'll list it out along with anything that's partially incorrect and give you a picture. This picture is not my document. It won't be your document. This is the solution file of what it should look like, but it tells you where the mistake is and what step you need to check to resubmit your work. Once you've done that, once you've fixed your document, you go to this title right here, click on the title, go back and upload your file again, and it will grade it and give you more points. You can submit these 5 times, so sometimes if you have a lot of things to fix, my advice is fix a few things, because sometimes fixing some things will fix other things automatically. And if you need help to try to figure out what you should do to fix it, that's what your teacher's for, so be sure to let me know. In any case, that brings us to the end of our first Microsoft Word project. So I hope the video helped. If you have questions, you can ask me when you see me in class or contact me online. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks for taking CIS 1A.